بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد قال الله تعالى في القرآن المجيد والفرقان الحميد بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنما الصدقات للفقراء والمساكين والعاملين عليها والمؤلفة قلوبهم وفي الرقاب والغارمين وفي سبيل الله وابن السبيل صدق الله العظيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. All praise to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who has blessed us with another day, another chance, an opportunity to worship Allah, to remember Allah, to thank Allah for all of the blessings which have been showered upon us. We are very close now to the month of Ramadan, and we make dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala helps us to reach the month of Ramadan. When the month of Ramadan comes, many people pay their zakah during this month because of it being a blessed month and the amount of rewards which are given for giving charity in these times. So today I thought it's a good opportunity to just go over some of the brief rules and regulations with regards to zakah, who should be giving zakah, who is able to take zakah, all of these things. So just a small kind of simplified version of what zakah is. First and foremost, zakat is an ibadah. It is a worship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is not a Muslim tax. It is something in order for us to be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to show the amount of blessings which have been given upon us. So there are three different types of worship that a person can do. The first one being is that it is related to the body. So you have salah and fasting. So you have your salah, which with our bodily movements we pray our salah. With fasting we are stopping ourselves from eating and drinking. Secondly, there is an ibadah which is to do with our wealth, and this is the one of zakat. And thirdly is the one which includes both. When it comes to hajj, a person uses his wealth, and at the same time the body is involved as well when a person goes for hajj. So of course zakah is that ibadah which involves our wealth. Now, in order to understand what this is, we need to know that first of all, what is actually zakah? What does it mean? Linguistically, zakat means to purify yourself. So when a person gives zakah, is to either to purify and to grow. So this wealth which is being used, it is a way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala purifying the wealth that we have. So the definition of zakah which has been given in the Sharia is that zakat means to provide ownership of a portion of one's wealth to a Muslim poor person who is not from the descendants of Zat Abbas, Harith, Ja'far and Aqil, and is not your spouse, parent or child by the order of Allah. So this is simple thing. That zakat is given to, first of all, condition, it has to be a Muslim. You have to give your zakat to a Muslim, and it cannot be a descendant of the Prophet ﷺ. The question now is given, why do we give zakat? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةَ. That establish your prayer and give zakat. So when a person gives zakah, again, he is worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mentioned in the hadith, إِنَّ اللَّهَ قَدْ افْتَرَضَ عَلَيْهِمْ صَدَقَةً تُؤْخَذُ مِنْ أَغْنِيَائِهِمْ فَتَرُدُّ فِي فُقَرَائِهِمْ. Which means, Allah has made it obligatory for them to pay zakah and it to be taken from the wealthy from among them and given to the poor among them. The word zakah has been mentioned 32 times in the Quran. So it is something which, of course, we have to make sure that we are doing. Zakat is a pillar of Islam and is a way and a form of gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are being grateful to Allah for all of the blessings which have been given us. That when a person gives their zakat, it is not that their wealth is decreasing, but instead it is a way for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make that wealth grow. And of course, the ultimate purpose of zakah is to suppress our desires and give preference to the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nobody in the world wants to give away their money. Why should it? You think in your head, any normal person, you would talk to somebody on the street, would you give your money away to something for no reason whatsoever? Then of course they're going to say no. But of course we have a reasoning behind it, and it is because it is a command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we hope and we expect reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving it. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that the virtue of zakah, it is that when a person gives their zakah, whatever you give, seeking Allah's pleasure with it, then such people are those whom Allah will multiply their wealth. So because of giving zakah, because of acting upon this ibadah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give more. So to never think that by giving in charity, my wealth is going to decrease, but instead it is a way for Allah to put barakah in it. And there's a famous hadith of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam about Bunya al-Islamu ala khams, that Islam has been established, has been built upon 5 things. So the pillars of Islam, one of these pillars is zakah. A building that has a pillar missing is not going to be able to stand strong. It's going to fall down. So in the same way, zakah is one of those very important things which a person has to give in order to make sure that their deen is stable and strong. The next thing is that a person, so who is obligated to give zakah? That is the first question. Who is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talking to? First thing is that a Muslim. The first condition is a Muslim has to give zakah. Therefore, a non-Muslim does not need to pay the zakah of the years before they accepted Islam. So if somebody has just entered into Islam, all those years that went past, because they were not Muslim, they would not have to give zakah for that. Secondly, they have to be baligh. They have to be mature. So in order to give zakah, so a person has to reach the age of maturity, then they will have to give it. Therefore, money owned by a child is not zakatable. So the children that have money, sometimes people, parents will open up a bank account for the children. If that money is just separated and is just for them, then money for the child does not have to, zakat does not have to be given for that. The third condition is that they have to be sane. A person who is insane, a person who doesn't have full control of their mind, they do not have to give zakah. And the next one is an individual who has, number one, he has owned, and number two, has ease of access to zakatable wealth, which has the value of which, after deducting their debts, reaches the nisab and is maintained for an entire Islamic year. So I've read a whole sentence here which includes many different things, so we'll break that down. So the first thing is that an individual who has owned. So we look at what is ownership. Ownership is the zakatable wealth must be in the ownership of the mature and the sane Muslim. So he actually has to have that wealth with himself. Now, that means that if you are receiving, an example has been given here, so somebody who has those that are parents, you receive child benefit. So a person gets child benefit, although the money is given for the child, what happens is the government is making you the owner. So we are the owner of that money, and accordingly zakat should be paid on that if the money is being used at the time. Now, like I mentioned before, if it is being put into a separate account and is just for the child and is not being used, then zakat would not have to be given on that. The next part, on the other hand, if you collect money on behalf of your child in a separate account, then this money belongs to the child and there will be no zakat on it. So that money, if it is just being used for the purpose of the child, so that when the child grows up, then we will use that the child can take the money. Or if only that money is used for things which the child needs, then again zakat will not need to be given on that. A good indicator of ownership is to determine who bears the risk of loss. If this wealth was lost, who would be losing money? So this is one way to understand and to decide, okay, does the zakat need to be given or not? So I will say that again, slowly, is that who bears the risk of loss? So if the parent is the one who is going to be losing out, so if they feel like, okay, I'm going to lose this money, then zakat would have to be given on it. Now if the child is losing out, then the money would not have to, zakat does not need to be given on that. Make sense? Yes? Inshallah. Okay, second part. To have the ease of access to the money. So ease of access. The zakatable wealth must not only be in your ownership, but you must have easy access of it, to which you are able to increase it. So I'll give you an example. Zaid has £3,000. After deducting his debts at the end of the Islamic year, he also has £5,000 in a bank account that has been frozen by the bank. Now because that has been frozen by the bank, even though it is in his ownership and he has no access to it, he will only pay zakat on the £3,000 which he has. So if somebody has some money somewhere which they have absolutely no access to, it's been the zakat has been the money they have no access to, the bank has frozen it. So he will not then be able to give zakat on that. Only the money which he has access to, he's able to increase it, decrease it. That is where the zakat will be taken out from. Another example is if Zaid gave Imran £1,000 to pass on to him prior to the zakat date. So somebody owes somebody money. Somebody owes somebody the money. And he has not been able to get access, so he doesn't. This example is, okay, he phoned him up and he said that I need the money so I can give zakat on it. So he's tried phoning him, but he never picked up the phone before his date. So now because he was not able to get in contact with that person, he's now no longer, he doesn't have to give the zakat on that because he was not able to get in contact with him. Now, only if he was able to get in contact with him, then definitely the zakat should be paid. Now, there is, so because of not having access to the person, this is why the zakat will not be given. Does that make sense? Yes, hopefully. Inshallah? Inshallah. Okay, the third part. So the first one was that individual has to own it. Secondly, he has to have access to it straight away, the ease of access. Now, the third type is the zakatable wealth. Now, what is the wealth which we have to give zakat on? The first one, of course, is money. Second is gold and silver. Third is merchandise, stock, which a person may have in their shop. And the fourth thing is livestock. So those who have farms, the animals and everything which is on the farm. The second thing is that anything which is apart from these four things is non-zakatable. So you don't have to pay zakat on any of the other things. So the only these four things: money, gold and silver, any merchandise which is in the shops, and those that have any livestock. When it comes to money, it's very easy, simple, easy to understand. All notes and coins which has some kind of value will be that. The gold and silver, this includes any jewellery as well as utensils, but they must be 50% or more in that gold. So it shouldn't, anything which is precious, for example metals, stones such as platinum and diamonds, zakat does not have to be given on that, only gold and silver. Now if somebody has something which is mixed, so you have diamond and gold together, if the gold is 50% more, then it would have to be given. But if there is more diamond or there is more platinum in the percentage, then it would not have to be given on that. So as long as it is gold and silver, if it's 50% or more, then that would have to be, zakat would have to be given on that. And of course, any merchandise. Merchandise is something which is bought with the intention of selling it. So somebody has a shop, they buy loads of stock because they intend to sell it, so zakat would have to be given on that. So for example, if somebody has an online business selling clothes, then you would have to use the retail value, so whatever the selling price is, which would be used to determine how much zakat is given. There will be no zakat on any wealth, even if it is beyond your necessities, on these certain things. So you have your cars, clothes, platinum, diamonds, sofas, houses, any other item that has been bought without the intention of resale. So you're not selling, you didn't buy it because you want to resell it. So all those things which are fixed in your household, so for example, a person has all these things I've mentioned, cars, and then you got your houses, and then other things. When it comes to properties which are on rent and all these kind of things, that's completely different. That will come later on. So this is just things which a person has fixed in their life. Zakat does not have to be paid on that. The fourth thing is that after deducting debts, so if a person owns and has ease of access to zakatable wealth, but there is a debt upon him, then he may deduct this debt from the value of his zakatable wealth. I'll give you an example. Zaid has £10,000 on his zakat date, but on the 20th of Ramadan, so this is his zakat date is the 20th of Ramadan. On the 20th of Ramadan, he still owes a relative £500 that he took as a loan. His wealth will now be reduced to 9,500. So he started off with 10,000, but he still has a debt of 500. So he can take that debt off. So he'd only have to pay zakat on the 9,500. So that's if a person has some kind of a debt. Now, examples of some debts that can be deducted are some personal loans, utility bills, outstanding salaries, and payable service fees. We'll go into more detail of those things later. So that was the fourth condition, which is after deducting the debts. The final thing, which is reaching the nisab. So nisab is the threshold which the value of the money has to reach in order for zakat to be paid. So the value which currently is around, so most people, so the nisab for gold is 80, so it goes to about the value of £4,483. That's if anybody is using the nisab for gold, but majority of people use the nisab for silver, which today's current value is £371. So if somebody has more than £371, then they will have to pay zakat. But of course, there is so many more things that have to be decided there as well. Next thing is that it has to be maintained for a full Islamic year. So, simple example, best way is 1st of Ramadan. A person on the 1st of Ramadan has more than £371. If you have more than £371 on the 1st of Ramadan, you are now liable to give zakat. Now, from this year, we will say that this year is the first time that you have gone over £371. So now zakat is wajib upon you. So next year, when you get to the 1st of Ramadan, if you still have over £371, so whatever the total is, zakat will be given on that. Now sometimes the question is asked, okay, so throughout the whole year, of course a person's wealth is going to fluctuate. It's not always going to stay at 371. You're going to have 500, 600, it might even go to 200. So even though it may go all these different kind of values throughout the year, if from when you started, if it's 371 and the following year is still above 371, zakat will have to be given. It doesn't mean that if it's 371 and then tomorrow it goes to 250, then you say, okay, now I can stop and my year is going to start again. No, the year doesn't start again, it just continues from that 1st of Ramadan. So your year has started from that 1st of Ramadan. Next year, 1st of Ramadan, if you are above 371, then you would have to give it. If you are under 371 the next year, then zakat will not have to be given. Does that make sense? Yes? Okay. Next part is that, so the main thing is that it has to be maintained for the full Islamic year. Time is very short. So I think best is we will continue next time. So I'll give a quick recap next time of what we did go through, and then we'll continue. So the next part speaks about who actually can we give the zakat to. So these are very important masail for us to know and to understand, especially when it comes to zakat, which is an ibadah, that we do it in the correct way possible. So having the knowledge for this is very, very important. So everybody, if you do have any questions and you're a bit confused, and I was going a bit fast, so it can be confusing, so feel free to come and ask, and then I will try and help you out, inshallah. Allah gives us tawfiq on these.